For today's lesson, you're going to be using the classwork paper that is Exploring Proportional Relationships, which is an introduction to section 2.4. While you're doing this, I really want you thinking about a few different questions. One is, why are some equations proportional while others are not? So I want you looking at, when you have a proportional equation, they're going to have key characteristics, versus not proportional equations are going to have something that causes the situation to not be proportional. Additionally, when you look at the back of the worksheet, you're going to be looking at the tables that come from the graphs. And when you look at the table, I want you thinking about, where does the equation come from? What does the table have that the equation also has? And in the future, when you're given a table, how are you going to be able to figure out what the equation is based on the table? Now, first, I need to start off with a demonstration of the Desmos website. So you're going to go to www.desmos.com. So here, and then you're going to click on the Start Graphing button, and you're going to get this graph. Now, there's a couple key things that you want to be aware of. First off, if you go to the settings, you can do projector mode, which will darken the grid, which is kind of nice. And you can also set your axes, but this is fine for now. And you can drag around the graph. Now, if you're messing around with the graph, and let's say you zoom way out, because this happens oftentimes with students. So you'll notice my values on the Y and X axis are getting bigger and bigger. So let's say you're playing around with it and you realize, oh my goodness, I have zoomed out way too much. If you push this little home button, it'll go back to the default, which is -10, 10, +10, and -10 on your axes. So once you've shifted the graph at all, this home button will pop up, and I recommend pushing the home button. Now we're going to do an equation together. So over here is where you click the equation, you put y equals, and to do a fraction, you can either click on the keyboard button here, and the fraction, you could use, I think, the division symbol. So let me double check. So if we do 1/2, you push divide by 2. And then what you're going to want to do is push your arrow keys to make sure this cursor is over here and not in the fraction. If you do this, you'll get 1/2x, and you're going to have something that is not proportional, and is also not what we want. So you want to delete that x, move the arrow over to the right, and we're going to have y equals 1/2 x. And this is what we want the graph to look like. So then you're going to answer these questions. Is it a straight line? So yes, it is. You'd circle yes on your paper for this one. This is not on the paper though, but if it was, you'd circle the straight line. Does it go through the origin? You can zoom in, and no matter how much you zoom in, it's definitely going through 0, 0. You can also click and see that it goes through 0, 0, because 0, 0 is on the line. Push the home button to zoom back out. And is it proportional? Well, it's a straight line and it goes through the origin. So yes, this one is proportional. Now going on to the next part is dragging the mouse to find coordinates. So coordinates other than 0, 0. So if you push down your mouse button, you can drag, and you'll notice right here, there's a perfect whole numbers for the ordered pairs. Like here, you have a lot of decimals. We don't really want to use the decimals. We want to use the whole numbers. So once again, if I go slow, I'm going to see that this ordered pair, which is 4, 2, is on the line. So you would, on your paper, write 4, 2, for this line. And then you keep going. You can drag over here. Keep going. The next one looks like it'll be about here because it crosses the grid, which is 6, 3. And then another one would be right here at 10, 5. So on the back of your worksheet, on this part, when you're filling in these ordered pairs and then you're putting these values in the table, that's how you're going to find the values, is by dragging the mouse along the line until it stops at whole numbers. So there's another one, 14, 7. So that's how you do that part of the worksheet. Now, another thing to be aware of, well, first of all, please add this line to the this equation to the proportional equations box at the bottom of the worksheet because it is proportional. And any of the other equations that you find are proportional, you'll write in this box. And any of the equations you find are not proportional equations, you'll write in the not proportional equations box. So you can kind of see what these all have in common and what these have that cause them to not be proportional equations. Now, one last thing I want to show you over here on Desmos is that if you click down here, you can do a new equation. So let's say you wanted to do x to the third power. Okay, so that blue line now is here. I'd recommend clicking the X to get rid of this one, or you can unclick here to get rid of the line. So you still have the equation here, but the line is no longer on the grid. So same thing here. If you unclick it, it disappears. So you could click down and do a third equation. So let's say we had y equals x plus 10. You'll see that one is now up here, and I could unclick off this one and only see the green one. So you could, if you push X, it'll delete the equations and now they're gone, or you can just click here to ungraph the line. So what you should be doing is working on the worksheet, the front and back, and answering the questions. And once again, please remember the questions you should be thinking about. You're trying to discover if you can determine why an equation is proportional or not. And you're also trying to determine that if you're given a table, would you be able to figure out the equation?